Thank you. Thank you. Well, let me say at the outset, Trudy and I are glad to be here. And we know some of us are Huskies and some of us are Cougars, but we are all Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl champs, okay? And so Bob, who's just doing such a super job for us as Attorney General, he just inspired me to dedicate my comments here today at our convention to the Super Bowl champs. Okay, so here's the theme of my brief comments here today. Marshawn Lynch, as you will recall, one of the most eloquent speakers in NFL history, he said, and I hope I get this quote right, "We're about the action, boss." We're all about the action, boss. I'm here to say the Democratic Party is about action this year to get our state going. And I'm excited about that. And I want to talk. I thought just real briefly it was appropriate to talk briefly about what action has meant to our Democratic family in the last year. What action has meant, as I'm pleased to report to you, is our Department of Transportation this morning has Highway 530 open two ways so the people of Oso and Darrington and Arlington can help restore their communities. What action? I am pleased to report to you that under the leadership of an action-oriented president and the Democratic family has given our nation and our state an opportunity they have lacked for decades to have health care for our citizens. I'm pleased to report that the #1 state in America of delivering health care reform and getting over 600,000 Washingtonians to have health insurance is right here in Washington State. This is action that we have delivered to the people of the state of Washington. And this is action that we have delivered. And it's right here in the Evergreen State. And it's something we ought to be proud of. And I thank you all for getting that job done. And this is something we have delivered for Washingtonians as a team. People have spread out to firehouses and clinics to give people a chance to get signed up for insurance. Kids in college for the first time have insurance. Veterans have an insurance. Small business people have an insurance. We ought to be proud of this success. And I'm very appreciative of President Obama's leadership on this. And by the way, I just want to get this off my chest. I know we have difficulties in our nation in Iraq right now. And I certainly don't have all the answers in Iraq, but I'll tell you this, we are not going to take our marching orders from Dick Cheney in Iraq. I will tell you that and what we do in this regard. Now, so I want to talk about what the action agenda is for us now moving forward in the state of Washington. And it's an action agenda that I think we all ought to embrace, frankly, Democrats and Republicans together, because it's an action agenda that responds to the tremendous potential of our state. And everything that I'm going to be working with you on in the next several months is dedicated to this proposition. Washington State is a state that leads, and Washington State is a state that doesn't ignore challenges. We embrace them, and we understand that action is the order of the day. Now, on my desk, when you come into my office, you'll see a little plaque, a little thing right on my desk. It says action this day. And it was Winston Churchill's #1 standing order of every single day during World War II. Action this day. So I just want to talk to you about what action this year means to me. Here's what it means to me. It means making investments in our children, starting with early childhood education, all the way embracing the kind of science, technology, and engineering we have at North Central High School in Spokane, where kids are unlocking the genetic code of 50,000-year-old mammoths here at North Central High School. All the way through, seeing our kids have access to being able to afford college education. I'm proud of the party that led to make sure we got the DREAM Act done this year, too, so that all of our kids can get education. But it means coming up with a financing package so that our educators have the tools they need to educate our children. Now, we, in the last year, have tried to move forward to respond to the McCleary decision to, in fact, exercise our constitutional obligation to our school children. We've been blocked a little bit by that, but we have an action agenda to move forward to give our kids the resources they need to compete with any child anywhere in the world in the new economy. Now, going forward, we will be advocating additional resources for our K through 12 system. But there will be a debate in Olympia how to finance that movement forward. And let me just tell you, there's a wrong way to do that and a right way to do that. The wrong way to do that is the way some have advocated, frankly, in the other party, that we'll just take money out of our housing programs, out of our nutritional programs, out of our mental health programs, and we'll take that money out of those programs and we'll simply put it in the K through 12 system. I want to tell you that is not the right way to go about this, and I'll tell you why. It is hard enough to educate a child. It is darn near impossible to educate a homeless, hungry, sick child. We're going to close corporate loopholes and put it into our schools so that we can educate our children. And that's the way forward in this regard. And that is an action agenda. That is an action agenda. We know that even though we've had good things happen in the economy, high-tech companies are blossoming across the state. I was in Moses Lake twice in the last couple months for openings of new high-tech companies. I think it's kind of cool that the largest manufacturer of carbon fiber in the world today for electric cars is in Moses Lake, Washington. I think that's kind of a cool thing. So we know we're growing these jobs across the state of Washington, but we know that workers are not getting a fair shake still in our state. We know that people are working hard, trying to support their families, trying to put their kids through college, and not having a fair shake when it comes time for wages. And I'm just here telling you, I believe that it is a Washington principle, and I know it is a Democratic principle, that if you work a 40-hour work week and give an honest day's work for an honest day's wage, you ought to have a living wage. We ought to increase the minimum wage in this state to make sure that if you work, you can support yourself in the state of Washington. And we will be working with an action-oriented agenda. I know that we need a transportation plan that's going to help our economy grow. Now, this state is too robust, too visionary, too optimistic to say we're not going to finish the 520 bridge. It's too optimistic to think we're not going to fix the bridge across the Columbia River. It's too growth-oriented to think we're not going to finish the north-south highway here in Spokane County. So I believe we Democrats passed in the House of Representatives last year a plan to get Washington moving in our roads and bridges, in our bus system, in our light rail system, in our bikes and our sidewalks. We're going to keep working because Washington State deserves to grow, and that means having a transportation system that works. So we're going to be back here working in this regard. Now I'm going to mention, there's many, many things we're going to work on together, but I'm going to mention one that to me perhaps is the most exciting opportunity for the state of Washington today. Now we know we have a great challenge in our state and in our nation. And it is a challenge of something that is eating our state alive. It is literally changing the basic foundational elements of the state of Washington. Yesterday I was visiting the oyster industry in Quilcene, Washington. Taylor Shellfish. Taylor Shellfish is a fifth-generation small business of the state of Washington. But they're having some real problems because carbon pollution coming out of the smokestacks are going into Puget Sound in the Pacific Ocean, and that carbon pollution is creating more acid in the Pacific Ocean and Puget Sound. And those more acidic conditions are making it impossible for the young oysters to grow. In days 3, 4, and 5, their shells sort of collapse, and they die. They die. And here's a business that's been healthy here for 5 generations, and wants to be healthy for another 5 generations. In fact, I met the young daughter of the current CEO who wants to continue this great family tradition. But this heritage of the oyster industry is threatened by carbon pollution. And this carbon pollution, we know, is radically changing our state. It's making our waters too acidic to have a healthy oyster industry. It's claiming our forests. You know, we have our forest fires are twice what they have been historically. In 30 years from now, they will be 4 times as devastating to the state of Washington if we do not act. I grew up, and I know many have grown up enjoying skiing. And our ski areas are not going to be able to have snow in the bottom several feet of our ski areas because of radical changes. In Spokane, Yakima, southeast Washington, I think it's great that we make the best wine in the world. And we have the possibility to expand our acreage by double our acreage to sell the best wine in the world around the world. But not if we can't get irrigation water because of the changes in the snowpack because of carbon pollution. Carbon pollution is enemy number 1 for the state of Washington right now. We know this. This is a certainty. But I want to tell you, I look at this problem as perhaps one of our greatest economic opportunities the state of Washington has. Because we know we can put people to work in our state having good high-tech paying jobs, good manufacturing jobs, good construction jobs, and I know we can do this. And I'll tell you why I know we can do this. We are doing this. In the last several weeks, let me take a trip. Start in Pullman, SEL Company, Smart Grid Technology, Moses Lake, world's largest manufacturer of carbon fiber for electric cars, Western Hemisphere's largest manufacturer for silicon substrates for solar panels. Here in Spokane, home to McKinstry, Western Hemisphere's largest company making energy services. You go west to Seattle, we're the world's most successful, leading entrepreneurs in floating turbine technology so we can have offshore wind turbines off the Pacific coast, producing prodigious amounts of absolutely clean energy. Everywhere I go in the state of Washington, I see entrepreneurs putting people to work, embracing new technologies to grow our state's economy, while at the same time defeating and reducing carbon pollution. Now let me tell you why I think Washington is going to lead America and why in my executive order I have set out a plan for Washington to do that. It's because it's who we are in Washington. Fundamentally, we're Huskies and Cougars, but we all share certain traits. And I want to talk what those traits are. We are optimists. We are not pessimists. The pessimists who are afraid that we can't face climate change and ocean acidification and beat them are wrong. We're optimists who know that we can, because it's the nature of Washingtonians. We are can-do people. We built the world's most successful aerospace industry. We invented software. We even invented the $4 cup of coffee. We know what you can do when you're innovative, okay? And we are confident people. We are not fearful people. The fearful people, the flat earth societies who will not join us in this challenge, we want them to get over their fear. Join us in this great mission to lead the country and the world. This is what Washingtonians do. We're going to lead the world as we have in healthcare. We're going to lead the world in education. We're going to lead the world in transportation, and we will lead the world in an energy revolution to defeat carbon pollution and save the evergreen state. Let's go Democrats. Help me elect across the state of Washington this year and get a state Senate that are going to help an action-oriented state of Washington. Let's go get them. Thanks a lot.